Well, here we are again, North Carolina. I won't beat around the bush. This shit fucking sucks. A little over 2 months ago, we talked on the show about redistricting and how Republicans have made a complete show out of our legislative and congressional district maps for over a decade. When we recorded that episode, we were holding out hope that our next congressional election could be the first election in over 10 years where we would get to vote on the district lines that we had the year before. Oh, how much can change in just 7 weeks. Since then, we've talked about the Republican-led North Carolina State General Assembly over and over again on the show, diving into how they've refused to address the critical underfunding of our schools and our healthcare, as well as how they've spent over 100 days not passing a budget this year. Here's where the story turns. By late September, 3 months after the July 1st budget deadline, top Republican leaders started sending out signals that they'd gotten a call from good old DJT and that they were going to answer it. Donald Trump and his little minions have been marching around through Republican state legislatures across the country, demanding that they redraw their congressional district maps to secure the Republican majority in Congress for 2026. They know that people are mad as hell about a lot of the things going on right now. Masked agents stealing people off the streets, health insurance premiums doubling, a colossal government shutdown, and that the American people are getting wise to the fact that Republicans are the ones to blame. They don't want to face the consequences for their actions next November. And one of the states that they're trampling through to avoid doing so is ours.
The motivation behind this redraw is simple and singular. Draw a new map that will bring an additional Republican seat to the North Carolina congressional delegation. President Trump has called on Republican-controlled states across the country to fight fire with fire. This map answers that call. In fact, on Friday, President Trump signaled his support for this plan.
We're not unused to having the national spotlight on us for issues of gerrymandering, but there were a lot of firsts this go-round. We'd only just endured a redraw of our evenly split maps to a 10-4 Republican majority, and now the Republicans in North Carolina jammed through the elimination of our state's only competitive congressional district left, and the president himself was not only cheering them on, but behind the whole damn thing. The new Republican maps draw Democratic Congressman Don Davis into a new district. Congressman Davis is a bipartisan guy with a lot of bipartisan support, and Republicans have already tried to draw him out once by putting him into a district with a Republican lean. The voters told the Republicans, "No thank you, we're good, we like this guy." But if the GOP listened to voters, we wouldn't be in this situation, would we? Over 80% of North Carolinians oppose gerrymandering for partisan advantage. And in a state like ours, it's hard to get folks to agree on a lot of things, but 4 out of every 5 voters, Democrats, Republicans, and independents included, think that our legislature should not be doing this, but they did it anyway. Here's the tough part for us, y'all. We did everything we could to stop this, but with the minority in both chambers of the state legislature and our state courts, our hands were tied. Every state legislature's had different rules, and our Democratic legislators don't have a lot of tools at their disposal to prevent egregious power grabs like this one. Maps don't go before the governor for approval, so Governor Josh Stein did everything he could as well, but he doesn't have the power to stop it. But I promise y'all, we made them hear us.
North Carolina has always been a state that has fought back against partisan and racial gerrymandering and voter suppression, and we have always made it through. So the nation that is now experiencing what the South has been going through, let me say welcome to the fight. We're glad to have you with us in it.
All of this is possible in North Carolina because of our state Supreme Court. When Democrats had control, the court struck down partisan and racial gerrymandering as illegal, leading to the fairest congressional map seen for our state in a generation. But then Democrats lost that majority. And as soon as they took that power, Republicans rushed a decision without a case even in front of them. They did it just to tell their friends back at the legislature that they were allowed to draw districts pretty much however the hell they wanted, and they would back them up. The old Speaker of the House, and now Congressman Tim Moore, even got a district drawn for himself, just so he could get a free ride to Washington. But we're fighting them, And we hope that folks will see it. Our Democratic Senate leader, Sidney Batch, introduced legislation that would make fair maps in North Carolina state law. But the Republicans won't even put it up for a vote.
If you were in charge, if Democrats had a majority here, I mean, would you be doing similar things that the Republicans are doing?
I'm happy you asked that, because had I not been silenced by Senator Berger today, you would have seen an amendment that I plan to run, which was for a constitutional amendment to send it to the voters to allow them to make the decision regarding whether or not they want fair maps. Now, they don't want to vote on that because it looks really, really bad for them. They don't want to vote on it because they know the majority of North Carolinians want fair maps and that we should not draw partisan maps. But here we are.
Not only will they not put fair maps up for a vote, they won't vote on their overdue budget, the fact that schools are underfunded, or that Medicaid is underfunded. They won't even do so much as tweet at their friends in Congress to get them to ask the government to get reopened so that North Carolina doesn't have to have people starve or have their health insurance costs double. And I'm not exaggerating on that either. They're going to double. I hope it is abundantly clear that Republicans do not want you to be able to choose if a Democrat or Republican represents you. And in fact, they don't care about you at all. If they did, they would have passed a budget that would keep your government funded and working properly. But they aren't capable of doing that. It's corruption, plain and simple. But even though it feels like Republicans opened Pandora's box when they took the Supreme Court back, letting out all sorts of evils the rest of us have to deal with, we know exactly how to get that lid back on. They can't gerrymander statewide elections, and we can take back the North Carolina State Supreme Court by 2028 and put partisan and racial gerrymandering back in the box where it belongs. The first step to making that happen is by re-electing Justice Anita Earls, who's been fighting against Republican attempts to gerrymander your districts and toss your votes on our Supreme Court already. She's up for re-election in 2026. And if you care about stopping this redistricting every 2 years, I need you to show up for her and get folks out to vote. There's a long road ahead of us, but the path is clear. And we will clean up this mess, but we can't do it without you. Don't let the Republicans get you down, y'all. We have a state to save. I'll see you next week.